Good afternoon from Regina, Saskatchewan. My name is Alex, and welcome to this trip report. Today, I'm making a very quick connection here onwards to Montreal, on board this Air Canada Express Mitsubishi CRJ-900. Now, that name alone may sound a bit peculiar, and it doesn't feel entirely right. But yes, this is another Bombardier aircraft that's had its name changed. Essentially, this name swap was part of Bombardier's continued selling off of all of their commercial aircraft programs, like the C-Series to Airbus and the Q400 to de Havilland Canada. As such, in June of 2020, they closed a deal to sell the Canadair Regional Jet program to Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. Under this deal, Mitsubishi would take on the maintenance, engineering, and sales activities for the CRJ. Although Mitsubishi themselves only call it the CRJ series, and that the existing aircraft are technically still Bombardier's, most airlines now call the various CRJ models Mitsubishis. In any case, it's still taking some getting used to, and if you ask this question of what to call the airplane to some Canadian aviation enthusiasts, you may get some interesting replies. This odd connection in Regina was part of a silly Aeroplan itinerary from Calgary to Montreal, where the first leg was delayed for a bunch of different reasons. I only made this connection because the captain of this flight was positioning here on the Calgary to Regina flight, and so this one couldn't exactly leave without them. After spending maybe 30 seconds tops in the terminal here in Regina, it was off to board today's CRJ, a 16-year-old 900 model registered as Charlie Foxtrot Bravo Juliet Zulu. As with all of Air Canada Express's aircraft, this one is operated by Jazz Aviation. Also, you know that feeling when you walk in late someplace and everyone turns around to stare at you? Yeah, that's what this felt like as I dragged my head along the ceiling to my seat for this 3-hour flight. 19A is an exit row seat, which I knew I would need. The legroom here, though, is impressive, and the wing view from this row is decent enough. Although being seemingly the last person to get on felt awkward enough, I was quickly comforted by the fact that another 10 or 20 people from the previous flight got on right after. So here's our departure from Regina, taking off from runway 31.
Bienvenue à bord d'Air Canada Express.
Thank you for choosing to fly with Air Canada Express.
Our flight today would take us directly east over eastern Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Ontario, before arriving into Montreal, for a total flight time of around 3 hours. 3 hours is a pretty long time to spend on a CRJ, but I was very happy with my seat choice. Being that this is an exit row, the tray tables in the seat back are locked, and you'll find it in the armrest instead. In the seatback pocket, you'll find the usual air sickness bag and a safety card for the CRJ-900. Also handed out during boarding was Air Canada's Clean Care Kit, a little sealed bag with an extra mask, wet wipes, and hand sanitizer. Now it's at this point where Air Canada's CRJ-900s really stand out. A rare sight on a regional aircraft like this is the in-flight entertainment screen, which also has a USB port for charging and the headphone jack located in the armrest. Although this is Air Canada's older system, it still works fine and feels ever so slightly faster than some of the old Airbus ones. It had a good selection of content, and of course, the classic AC moving map. One thing worth pointing out, if the screen was hard to see just then, it was even worse filming it, since the exit row seats strangely have no window shades whatsoever. It being broad daylight outside, that led some fellow passengers to do some creative problem solving. Another exit row quirk is that you don't really have an armrest on the window side, and it's more like a ledge for your elbow. Air Canada Express's CRJ-900s all seat 76 passengers, with one lavatory at the front and another one at the rear, which is a little tight, to put it generously. Up front are 12 business class seats in a 1-2 layout, and 64 economy class seats in the standard 2-2 configuration. For economy class though, it is worth pointing out that row 18, the one just before the first exit row, doesn't have a window. About an hour into the flight, the cabin crew came around with some free drinks and snacks available for purchase. Unfortunately, they didn't have any meals available, so I had to settle for these for lunch. As we neared Montreal, they came around a second time with some more drinks, and I went for some orange juice. All things considered, 2 drink services on a CRJ isn't bad at all. Here's our arrival into Montreal, landing on runway 06 right.
Ladies and gentlemen, Captain S1 on the seatbelt sign is here shortly. Please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened. We're going to go to the washroom for now. Thank you. Mesdames et messieurs, on va enlever la consigne des ceintures, ça va être blanche et démarrer. Welcome to Montreal. The local time is 6:06. Please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened. All carry-on items stowed until the captain has switched off the seatbelt sign. Smoking is not permitted.
Well, that was Air Canada Express's CRJ-900. It's been a while since I've flown on one of these with AC, and I forgot how enjoyable they are, in the right seat, that is. I can't think of any other airlines that offer in-flight entertainment screens on a CRJ of all planes, so AC CRJs are pretty competitive. There are a few flying around with the new Atmosphere cabin that don't have seatback screens yet, but I do want to try one of those someday. So, despite it being 3 hours on a CRJ, I did enjoy it, and I'd happily fly Air Canada Express's Bombardier Mitsubishi CRJ-900 again. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you next time.